Hi, I'm Cindy Rodgers. I'm 61 years old and truly getting it that life has just begun. I was born in Klamath Falls, Oregon, and I have little nicknames for all the precious people that come across my path. This is my little mailbox where I gather the mail every day. Hi, gang, what's going on? Huh?
What are you doing? Oh, you're so cute.
Well, you might see it on YouTube one of these days. That's why I love what I do. All those characters. All those fun characters. I was home for Thanksgiving vacation, my junior year in college, and I had just been through a season where after being in a sorority and dating a lot of different guys and as a believer wanting a godly Christian husband but just not really finding anything, kind of had come to the conclusion that I was going to be just fine if the Lord was my husband. I jumped into the fall term, had a great term, and went home for vacation, and my mom and dad and I were watching the Waltons where John Boy fell in love, and immediately all those emotions came back of desiring, the longing to have a man. So I went back to the blue bedroom and just really recommitted that to the Lord, just laid that down. And the next morning I got up and my dad said, "Hey, Sin, how would you like to go haul manure for the garden?" Well, which college co-ed wouldn't just love to do that? But I loved to be with my dad, so didn't comb my hair or put on any lipstick, and away we went. And after sitting in this large ranch living room with this older couple, in walked one of the most gorgeous cowboys I'd ever seen in my life. And he was the one that was going to go to the feedlot with us. He was the son, and I was the one to hold the sack while he scooped in the product. And my life was never to be the same because love was born over a bag of manure. Russ and I were at Stanford Medical Center. He was in the process of preparing for a bone marrow transplant. He'd been diagnosed with Hodgkin's disease after leaving the cattle ranch to pursue a career, a lifelong calling really in veterinary medicine. But he was diagnosed the fall that we moved to Corvallis, and the only hope of survival was a transplant. So we left our kids, 3 kids, in Klamath Falls, Oregon, back at the ranch, and headed down at Christmas time. And during that time down there, we were like the city mice, or the country mice, going to the city. And not only was it traumatic because Russ, we called him Lazarus because he came to the point of death so many times, and then he was such a fighter, would come back. But I remember one day being in the laundry room, just so thick in the fog of kind of shock and a kind of grief that I could hardly think of what I was supposed to do next. And I said, "Lord, I don't know how to do this. I can't, help me." And as clear as a bell, Psalm 32:8 dropped into my mind. "I will lead you in the way that you should go, and I will counsel you with mine eye." And we dubbed that as the 15-minute plan, and it has become a lifelong blessing. Often it's down to the 2-minute plan when life is extremely traumatic or stressful or busy. But it has been such a gift because all you have to do is say, "Lord, what do you want me to do next?" Or show me how to do the next thing. And it has seen us through amazing seasons. During Russ's 9-year battle with cancer, he actually did become a veterinarian. I never dreamed when I signed up to support him cleaning houses and teaching piano lessons to help him get through that process that I would ever end up actually being everything he wasn't in a vet clinic. And I'm so thankful for the hysterical memories I have of actually being gloved up and helping him do surgeries on a skunk, on ferrets, on cows and horses and all these amazing animals that God has created. And what a privilege it was to work with this amazingly brilliant man. He had huge hands. And I think I was confirmed that God had called him to this when I watched him doing surgery, a spay on a ferret, where the body's only this wide and these great big huge hands were sewing up these little incisions. But during the joy of all that, of getting to be called from my bookkeeping desk, Cindy, get down here and pray, and getting down there and being part of the miracles of watching somebody's beloved pet who had died on the operating table come back to life because of our prayers and because of his incredible skill, were just amazing gifts to me. I have hours and hours and hours of pleasure out here. In the summer, I have my quiet time out here every morning about 6 o'clock and watch the sunrise, and the birds are amazing because this is a wetland and there's a little creek that flows right there. And I even have a little pond that has 2 frogs in it that are my little friends. He'd only been a veterinarian for 4 years, and we had our vet clinic for 3 when he was airlifed out for the last time. And after he passed away, I said, God, I don't get this. Why did you have him work so hard, struggling against cancer and being victorious to become a veterinarian during all of that, only for the short season? Often we don't get an answer to those kind of prayers. But in God's kindness, he showed me that it was because of his love and kindness to Russ that he allowed him to become what he'd created him for at least 4 years before he took him home. Home away from home. This is the spot where so much of the things that I love about being the office mom happen. The pastors will sit and share their hearts or get prayer, or someone will walk in off the street and sit and just kind of unload their souls. But this is a really sweet place in my life. In February, the year after Russ passed away, I was still working down in Lakeview, and Pastor Rob from Calvary Chapel, Corvallis, had called me when I was up visiting my son Rory, who in December had become the high school pastor at Calvary Chapel, Corvallis. And Pastor Rob had said on this phone call, he said, be praying. I've had a vision, and it's of you being our new secretary at our new church, but I have a perfectly good secretary, and we don't even have a church. At that time, they were a mobile church. I tucked that in my heart and just started praying about that. And that summer in August, I took a bunch of kids from Lakeview to Rory's high school camp. And one night, as I strolled out from my cabin, there were several of the pastors on my front porch. And it was then that they asked me to come on staff and become Rob's secretary and the receptionist. And within 6 months, Rob approached me again and asked me if I would prayerfully consider taking over the women's ministry. And I thought, Lord, I knew he was preparing me for that. He'd been showing me that maybe I didn't have a theological degree, but I had been a wife and a mom and a daughter and a college student and a widow, and how he had prepared me through life to love on and minister to other women. To see God's kindness to me, to let me be doing what I, as a woman without a husband, was created to do. Daily, I don't take that for granted. It is such joy to be ministering to the women, teaching Bible study, just being the office mom to so many different people that come through my office. Everywhere I can, I have little tiny chairs and benches because I love little children. And so it's really fun to have my grandchildren just sprawled all over like little bumblebees on the fun chairs. After Russ had passed away and I'd moved to Corvallis to be on staff with Calvary Chapel, I lived for the first time in an apartment complex. And my dad had always wanted to see me have my own home. I took that as such a great honor, and I started thinking about it, but realized that being in that apartment allowed me to keep where he kept a little apartment right below me, just in case his health wasn't doing well. My oldest daughter, Heather, would caretake for him, and we could keep an eye on him right below us. So I just knew while he was alive that wasn't the season, but after he passed away, he had left me enough that I could start looking for a house. So my dear friend helped me look at 51 houses. Now, I didn't realize that in the realtor world that was very unusual, but he kept telling me, don't settle, Cindy, we're gonna keep pressing for that dream home for you. And I found one that I kind of liked, and liked well enough to make an offer out, only 5 houses away from where I live right now. But after my friend and I prayed, we had just within an hour or two been too late, and that house was snapped up. Well, another friend of mine who had been in this journey with me said, I want to go see that house. So we were driving by this little cul-de-sac, and I glanced down the street, and I saw on either side of this house that it went forever. There wasn't anything behind it, no other homes. And I said, oh my goodness, I think we need to go down there and look at that, though the house was not for sale. So I hopped out of the car and I took a peek, and I came back to the car and I go, oh my goodness, I think, let's pray. I feel like I'm supposed to go knock on the door and ask those people if they'd be willing to sell their house. Well, just as I approached the house, the young mom came out, and I shared my little story. Her jaw dropped open and she said, oh my goodness, we just finished writing all the paperwork to post this to sell online. Would you like to come in and take a look? And when I came in and walked through this house, my friend and I looked at each other and said, this is it, isn't it? And this house was $40,000 cheaper than the other house, which made it so that I could fix it up to be just my home, my colors, and really cozy. God provided this oasis for me to come back to. And when I realized that this house was finished the month that my husband passed away, I knew that God had this place for me to lay my head. So as there's been so many parts of my story, and not all of them have been told, that have been very painful, really when I look at my life, I think of my life as being one of incredible joy, because he taught me early on, you have to choose the joy of the Lord, Cindy. It is a choice every day when you get up, whether you're going to fix your eyes on me and you're going to have a thankful heart. And in having a thankful heart, I'm going to start revealing to you step by step how I've sprinkled your day with good things. And so I truly am the richest lady in town, and the joy of the Lord is my strength.